workforce and job training programs, and zoning. By taking a coordinated, data-driven approach to sustaining and growing the city's industrial businesses and jobs, this legislation will offer long overdue support to a vital sector of our economy and to the industrial business zones and workers throughout our districts. Thank you to Speaker Adams for your leadership and to all the co-sponsors of this bill, and especially to my co-prime sponsor, Councilmember Gutierrez. As the first Bronxite and Latino to chair the Committee on Economic Development, I'm proud to get this win for workers in my district and across the city. Finally, thank you to the Economic Development Committee Counsel Alex Polinoff, Director of Land Use Paris Strotter, Brian Paul, Julia Ehrman, and William Vidal from the Land Use Division for all your hard work on this bill. And a huge thank you to our advocates in this sector for their support and their long-fought fight for this to become a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Councilmember Vilas, followed by Councilmember Gutierrez.
Good afternoon, colleagues. I just want to take a moment and extend gratitude to Speaker Adams, Majority Whip Brooks Powers, and the many co-sponsors on Intro 708. In addition, I want to thank the environmental justice advocates, including the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance, UPROSE, NILPI, and members of the Last Mile Coalition. Since my first day in office, I have been looking tirelessly for ways to address the inundation of last mile facilities in our communities and their impacts, bringing thousands of additional trucks into our community to what many Red Hook residents refer to as truck-pocalypse, polluting our air, congesting our streets. And while I continue to look for ways to protect District 38 from the city's continued practice of environmental injustice through neglect, this bill represents to me and my community a step forward in the right direction. For the first time in 50 years, our truck routes will be redesigned and in the process give voice to our community members, our local businesses, and our environmental justice advocates. I also want to thank the Department of Transportation, who during negotiations on this bill acknowledged the need for this legislation and for working with impacted communities. To me, this illustrates a shift in our collective thinking that I hope to see reflected in future legislation. This is but one small piece of a larger puzzle to bring real planning and rationalization to our city, while advancing climate, transportation, health, labor, and racial justice goals to our community. I and my community eagerly await full implementation and a future with cleaner air and safer streets. I encourage my colleagues to vote yes to pass Intro 708. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll hear now from Councilmember Gutierrez, followed by Councilmember Barron.
Thank you. I'm excited that the Industrial Development Strategic Plan is passing today. Congratulations to Speaker Adams and Chair Farias, who have been wonderful champions and great collaborators. It's a perfect example of the Council's commitment to economic growth and building a more resilient and sustainable future. In fact, the speaker brought it up at her State of the City earlier this year. So very, very proud to be a part of this team. New York City's industrial sector has the opportunity to be the modern beating heart of opportunity for working families, immigrants, and communities of color, while also growing our economy and supporting essential infrastructure that keeps our city running. But these zones have been neglected for decades and face the constant threat of encroachment by commercial and entertainment uses. The Industrial Development Strategic Plan will help inform future neighborhood planning and land use actions to apply the new M zoning districts proposed by DCP in the Zoning for Economic Opportunity text amendment. I hope that other council members will join us in our growing M Zone Coalition, which is working to protect these districts, thousands of jobs, and this vital industry. And I'm also excited to pass a biometric tax credit today, which underscores the city's commitment to manufacturing. Intro 1070 enables investors and owners of qualified, smaller, and emerging biotech companies to claim a tax credit, which will support increased manufacturing, job creation, and innovation with the city. And thank you to the whole land use team who played a vital role in helping us get to where we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. And I hear from Councilmember Barron.
Thank you, my colleagues. I rise for the importance of the Fair Housing Plan. I think this plan is important, a step in the right direction, but we have to be vigilant in our examining of the City of Yes plan by the mayor, which I think is a city of no. It benefits developers more than it does the residents. We also have to be very, very cautious of the inflationary rate of the AMI, which you're passing right now for the area median income, which is 60% we say is affordable today, but when these buildings and projects are built 5 years from now, when the AMI climbs by 20 and 30 and 40%, 60% is not going to be affordable in our neighborhoods. So when we pass in our development projects for affordable housing, we have to go lower. We have to go to 30 and 40% of the AMI because 60% is affordable today in some communities and won't be affordable tomorrow. The other thing we have to look out for is the mandatory inclusion housing. We're talking 25% here, 25%, which means 75% is market. And the reason why they say 25% because they need the 75% money for the market to make the 25% affordable, and oftentimes that's not affordable. We have to bring the MIH up to 60%. And when they tell you that won't be doable because we won't have the money to make it affordable, tell them that we have a $164 billion 10-year capital budget. The money is there. We have to have the will of this body to make affordability real.
Thank you, Councilmember Barron. Do we have anyone else signed up at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into the report of special committees.
None.
Report of standing committees.
Report of the Committee on Aging, Intro 564A, Commission for LGBTQIA+ Older Adults.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Contracts, Intro 511A, Procurement Process Schedules.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Economic Development, Intro 1012A, Industrial Development Strategic Plan.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Finance, Intro 1070A, Biotechnology Credit.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Intros 1209 and 1210, Business Improvement Districts.
Coupled on general orders.
Preconsidered LU 286 and Reso 845, and preconsidered LU 287 and Reso 846, Tax Exemptions.
Coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Governmental Operations, Intro 348A, Credit Card and Bank Fees.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Housing and Buildings, Intro 1031A, Fair Housing Plan.
Amended and coupled on general orders.
Report of the Committee on Transportation and Infrastructure, Intro 708A, City Truck Route Network Redesign.
Amended and coupled on general orders. I now ask that the clerk take a roll call vote on all of the items coupled on today's general orders calendar.
Ossé.
I would like to vote on all of today's general order calendar and resolutions.
Go ahead.
Permission to explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Russell Tyrone Jones was a pioneer in the world of music and one of New York's immortal sons. He must have known that one day he would have a day in his honor added to New York's calendar so that his self-given stage name, Old Dirty Bastard, will be read aloud on the floor of this hallowed space. As the new millennium approached, hip-hop music was rapidly climbing in cultural significance. But for years, West Coast rap dominated the hip-hop scene. With their debut album, 36 Chambers, which was obviously named after New York's 36th Council District, Wu-Tang Clan turned the tide, helping to cement East Coast rap at the top of the field and bring the industry's center of gravity back to its rightful home in New York. I can go on for hours about his musical career. I should also mention the time he once saved a child from a car wreck and continued to visit her and the hospital thereafter. The man was and is a legend. I'm proud of this body for passing this resolution today, recognizing this legacy and ensuring that the life of Old Dirty Bastard, or as Speaker Adams says, ODB, is celebrated each year on his birthday for generations to come. Thank you.
Riley.
Permission to vote on all resolution and land use call-up.
And items on today's general order
And items on
calendar, I
today's
assume, as
agenda.
well?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I don't know. Thank you.
Abreu.
Aye.
Ariola.
Aye on all.
Aviles.
Aye on all.
Ayala.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye on all.
Botcher. Brannan.
Aye.
Brewer. Brooks Powers.
Aye, and congratulations to all of those passing bills today.
Caban.
Aye on all.
Carr.
Aye on all.
De La Rosa. Dinowitz.
Aye on all.
Farias.
I vote aye on all.
Feliz.
Permission to explain my vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you. First, I'd like to disclose on the record that I am an adjunct professor at Hostos Community College in the Bronx, part of the CUNY system. Proud to vote aye on all, and I'm especially proud to vote aye on the Fair Housing Framework legislation led by our very own speaker, Adrian Adams. We are in a housing crisis, and every corner of our city must help resolve this crisis. Not just the South Bronx, not just the Central Bronx, not just East New York. Everyone must help resolve the housing crisis affecting our city, the city of New York. For far too long, we've heard so many conversations, so many comments from everyone in the city about this housing crisis. So many comments, so many conversations from everyone in the city about this housing crisis. But for far too long, not everybody has been building. So we need to do more. At the end of the day, conversations, speeches, and performances when the media is pointed at you, that does not build housing. At the end of the day, we could only resolve this housing crisis by building. So proud to vote on this legislation, and I hope that it helps us make progress in every part of our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Gennaro.
Mr. Leader, I wish to speak on my vote.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I want to congratulate Councilmember Aviles and Chair Brooks Powers on Intro 708A regarding the truck route redesign. This is a real environmental justice issue that Councilmember has worked long and hard on, and it was to join the chorus of those speaking out in favor of the Speaker's Fair Housing bill. And with that, I vote aye.
Gutierrez.
Aye.
Hanif.
Aye.
Hanks.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to applaud the speaker, and I am proud to stand and vote for the Fair Housing Bill. I am happy that this bill will also help underpin my North Shore Action Plan, as Staten Island, in my district in particular, has some of the lowest affordable housing units in New York City. As a mother of 4, I have 2 children that I would really like to leave my home, and and I know that there are other folks who stand with me as well. I purchased my home when I was 27 years old, and those things that's not available for young people today. And so this Fair Housing Plan, this bill, significantly changes that, so young people like my children can self-actualize and be in their own space and leave their homes. So I am very happy to be voting for this today. Thank you.
Holden.
Aye on all.
Hudson.
Aye on all.
Joseph.
Aye on all.
Kagan.
Aye on all.
Krishnan.
Aye on all.
Lee.
Aye on all.
Lewis.
Aye on all.
Marte.
Aye.
Mealy.
Aye.
Menon.
Aye on all.
Moya.
I vote aye.
Thank you. Narcisse.
Aye on all.
Nurse.
Aye.
Palladino.
Aye on all.
Wrestler.
Aye on all, and really want to thank the Speaker for her leadership on this Fair Housing Plan. It is critically important. Thank you.
Richardson Jordan. Rivera.
Thanks to the Speaker for her legislation, and congrats to my colleagues on their bills. I vote aye.
Salamanca.
Aye on all.
Sanchez.
Permission to explain my vote?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Majority Leader. New Yorkers cannot always agree on the weather or whether the sky is blue, but we are finally in agreement that there is a housing crisis in the city and that we must do something about it. So I want to thank the Speaker for her leadership on the fair housing legislation and urge us all to take advantage of this unique moment where we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity where there is political will and alignment to make profound changes to the way that we produce housing. So let's do it carefully, thoughtfully, and attentive to our housing goals: equity, desegregation, neighborhood stability. Opportunity for the next generation of New Yorkers is not going to create itself. Housing for the lowest income New Yorkers is not going to be produced without guidance and intervention. Thank you so much, Speaker, for your leadership.
Schulman.
Aye on all.
Stevens.
Aye on all.
Ong.
Aye on all.
Velasquez. Vernikov.
Aye on all.
Williams. Juan.
Aye on all.
Yeager.
Aye on all with the exception of introductions 1209, 1210, and 708.
Powers.
Aye on all.
Speaker Adams.
Congratulations to all of my colleagues passing legislation today, and a tremendous thank you to my colleagues who support the fair housing framework, who support the fair housing. Congratulations and thank you. Aye on all.
All items on today's general order calendar are adopted by a vote of 48 in the affirmative, 0 negative, and 0 abstentions. 45 in the affirmative, 0 negative, and 0 abstentions, with the exception of introductions 1209, 1210, and 708, adopted by a vote of 44 in the affirmative, 1 negative, and 0 abstentions. We'll now move into the introduction and reading of bills.
All bills have been referred to committees as indicated on today's agenda.
Thank you. We'll now move to the discussion of resolutions. We don't have anyone currently signed up to speak on today's resolutions. So we will move into a voice vote on today's resolution. If you wish to vote against or abstain from today's resolution, please notify the Legislative Documents Unit by email or by approaching the dais. I'll now read today's resolution into the record. Resolution 621A designates November 15th annually as, I will say it, Old Dirty Bastard Day in the city of New York, and honors his legacy as founder of the legendary Wu-Tang Clan and as a unique MC. Will all those in favor please say aye? All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. We'll now move into the general discussion. I'd like to start with Minority Leader Joe Borelli. Before I call up Joe, I want to note that we all got gifts today. They were not from Joe Borelli. I'm just kidding.
You had your opportunity to ask everyone to say, shimmy, shimmy, yaw, shimmy, yeah, shimmy, yay. You missed it. So I hope most of you guys and gals got a charcuterie board. I would call it a cutting board, but here in the New York City Council, we don't do many cuts. Am I right?
You're allowed to boo. You're allowed to boo.
So when I first came to the council in November of 2015, one of the first meetings I had was to bring Lorraine Grillo, who was the president of the School Construction Authority, to a dilapidated old building that had trailers and just the floors were rotting out of the school building called PS 37 that was housing developmentally disabled children and had physically disabled children. And it's been 8 years, but now we have rebuilt a brand new school for this population on Staten Island. And it's a K-12 school, and now they have all different programs that teach them skills, including woodworking, which is why we got this board. So with the holidays coming up, great thing for meat and cheese. If you're a vegan, put some vegetables on it. If you're one of my socialist friends, hey, whatever's rationed for this fall season. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, everyone, but thank you for allowing me this lighthearted moment just to say how good some disabled kids are doing on Staten Island, thanks to the work that we do routinely here in the New York City Council. So thank you.
This is Staten Island Day in the City Council. Thank you, Minority Leader. We'll now hear from Council Member Narcisse, followed by Council Member Farias.
Thank you, Majority Leader, and I want to say thank you to Madam Speaker Adrienne Adams that keep it real and making sure to address the inequities in New York City. Housing is a big thing, and so I want to say thank you. And I would like to talk about Intro 1250. Today, as a public servant and a registered nurse familiar with the healthcare challenges, many of them actually New York City face, I am introducing a bill aimed at establishing the Office of Organ Transplant Equity within our health department. This bill is a big step towards rectifying the imbalances in our organ transplant system and ensuring that every New Yorker has fair access to this critical and potentially life-saving procedures. The Office of Organ Transplant Equity, as proposed, will ensure that all New Yorkers, particularly those from underserved communities, have equitable access to organ transplant. I'm a donor, and I want my organ, if anything happened to me, to go to anyone that deserves it according to when they register. This bill is about saving lives and ensuring fairness in healthcare. It is about supporting our residents in their times of greatest need, informed by the principle that the value of a life should never be determined by social or economic status. Allow me to thank the New York lawyers for the public interest, New York Immigration Coalition, Make the Road New York, co-prime sponsors CM Schulman and Hanif, and the Legislative Council, Margaret Leaford, for their support, and all the legislative team. Thank you, Jeremy, Pfizer, all of you that supported and making sure that we address the inequities. I urge all my colleagues to support this legislation. Together, we can make a commitment to health equity that will resonate to the lives of saving the families and support everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Majority Chair. Thank you. Vote yes to that.
When it comes up for a vote. We'll now go to Councilmember Amanda Farias.
Thank you, Majority Leader. I just wanted to wish a very happy Diwali to all who celebrate. Many of us have already started celebrating Diwali with our communities and looking to continue to here tomorrow in the City Council's Diwali celebration, where we get to highlight some of our very own local community members. And I hope you all join the Speaker, myself, Council Members Krishnan, Gennaro, Lee, and more to celebrate the Festival of Lights with our communities right here in Chambers.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else signed up at this time to speak? Seeing none, I'll now call on Speaker Adrienne Adams to close out today's meeting.
Thank you, Majority Leader and colleagues. The stated meeting of November 15, 2023 is hereby adjourned. Happy birthday, Muffin.